Omar and Abla for this fantastic forum. I must confess, I am not very comfortable, in separating the world into three parts. This idea of global south, of BRICS, BRICS plus, and so-called Disoriented West, if I read the title of this session. Maybe a way to try to define global south is to observe very carefully the degree of demographic transition everywhere in the world. Because we face a very particular situation in which the two regions which has a trade surplus, China and Europe, are aging population, and very quickly, quicker than expected. On the other side, you have many countries which can use their demographic dividend, namely India, for instance, or Egypt. So I think that maybe if we try to think in terms of emerging markets, this importance to demography should be first. Second, Shunayan made a reminder about the non-alignment movement, which is an important historical reminder. Let me make another one. It's interesting to remind that BRIC is initially an acronym coined by Goldman Sachs at the beginning of 2001, by Jim O'Neill to be more precise, for an investment strategy. And what is interesting is to see how something which was coined for investment strategy has been transformed into a political format. Now, if we observe BRICS and all the story of the BRIC formats, the fact that South Africa joined in 2011, the fact that there is now 5 more countries, 2 of them hesitated, important to remind, Argentina and Saudi Arabia. We have this impression sometimes that when we speak about global south, is it partly or completely linked to a BRICS plus? I'm not so sure. And last point, I'm not comfortable, with this idea of a disoriented West for one obvious reason, which was discussed this morning. It is the gap right now between Europe and the US. Not really in economic terms, even if there is a trade war decided by the Trump administration, but more and more in ideological terms, in a different perspective and different reading of the world. Well, first of all, there is no position of the French Institute of International Relations. We speak on our own. That's important to have this caveat. Seated in Europe, when you speak about BRICS and Global South, you have to make some distinction. And the big elephant at the time being, of course, is China. And the big elephant within BRICS Plus is China. Within BRICS, correct me, but I think that China represents 65% of the 5 countries in terms of proportion of global GDP. And what has been done by China during the last 5 decades is absolutely unique in terms of development. Now we have to find out a proper relation with China, and that's the most tricky things for Europe right now, given the reconfiguration of the transatlantic framework. So that will be my first answer. There is something specific, given the size, given the importance of China in dealing with Russia. Because the big difference, one of the big differences between China and Russia does want to destroy the EU. It's very clear now, I can elaborate on that, but no time. China needs the EU to export its overcapacities, even if Chinese authorities are reluctant to use this word. So that's one thing. The second thing is also for Europe, its ability to think east of Suez, which is not so easy, because we have the internal market, we have Mediterranean aspiration, we have the links, of course, very deep with Africa, and the idea that Europe should contribute to the evolution of the center of gravity of global economy, which is right now in Asia, is very important and not so easy to be done. And that's India is very, very important. Now, the other problem for Europe, it is the fact that Europe invested, and I spent 20 years of my professional life to do so, so it's a big failure, try to establish a relationship with Russia, which has been completely destroyed by the aggression against Ukraine. So the other part is Brazil. Brazil is very important because the Atlantic Basin, it is not only North America and Europe, it is more and more Europe and Latin America, Africa, North America, Africa, Europe, and Africa, Latin America. And that's, I think, the geography we should have in mind when we speak about the relation, that should be invented, reinvented, promoted by Europe right now.
I'm sure John has some comments on that one.